to see the chairman, academic head, principal, and chief guest present here for the inaugural ceremony of the 6th chapter of LCI-MUN. I would also like to welcome the secretary, the director, and the academic dean, as well as our dear parents and my fellow delegates. To start off the inaugural ceremony, I would like to invite Olivia from A-Level to lead us into prayer.
O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the work thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the mighty thunder that was throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Creator God, to thee. How great the word, how great the word. Then sings my soul, my Creator God, to thee. How great the word, how great the word.
Thank you, Olivia. That was beautiful. Next, I would like to invite Devarath from A-Level to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, Devarath.
Good morning. My name is Devarath Rakesh, and it is my privilege to welcome you respected dignitaries, dear teachers, parents, and delegates on this auspicious occasion. We are deeply honored to be here with Mr. Jayanth Jacob for the inauguration ceremony of the 6th chapter of LCMU. Welcome, sir. I would also like to welcome our beloved chairman, Mr. Raj, secretary, Mrs. Shashikala Raj, director, Ms. Sita N, principal, Dr. Somanathan Krishna, academic dean, Jen Thomas, and academic head, Mrs. Sanu Gupta. LCMU is a huge opportunity for students to develop and hone their research, leadership, public speaking and problem solving, networking, and negotiation skills, as well as becoming acquainted with global issues and expanding their worldly knowledge. Delegates conduct research on intricate issues at hand and foreign policy. LCMU provides a platform for students to showcase their thematic abilities. I look forward to 2 days of riveting debate and effective solutions. Delegates together, let's make a difference. Welcome to LCMU in 2021.
Thank you, Devarath. Next, I would like to invite Ritika from A-Level to present an overview of LCI-MUN. Over to you, Ritika.
Good morning, respected dignitaries, dear teachers, parents, and delegates. Welcome to the 6th chapter of LCI-MUN. On this auspicious day, we are celebrating 5 years of successful debating. Over the years, LCI-MUN has bred students with the skill for effective communication, diplomacy, and leadership who have gone on to represent this prestigious institute and prove their superiority over other schools. For the year 2016, which was the first year of MUN held by our seniors, guided by our academic head, Mr. Sanu Joseph, the agenda was the 5th generation of cyber warfare and nuclear policy for the 21st century. Years following 2016, rising international extremism with special emphasis on refugee crisis was the agenda for 2017. American, Russian, and Chinese intervention in foreign countries for the year 2018. And in 2019, for the first time in LCI-MUN history, the debate was held over 2 days with the agenda of establishing a legal framework to counter all forms of terrorism, with special emphasis on human trafficking. And in 2020, in light of COVID restrictions, the debate had to be conducted online, and we witnessed intense debates in 2 different committees, UNGA DISEC and UNHRC, with the agendas overseas military bases and weaponization of social media, and combating discrimination in light of COVID-19 with special emphasis on ethnic minorities, respectively. This year, we will have two committees with very interesting topics that will wake the debater in everyone. Our UNGA committee will have the agenda of Israel-Palestine conflict, and UNHRC committee having tackling racial and ethnical cleansing with special emphasis on Western African states. The International Press Committee will be taking over the essential job of journalism and reporting, represented by numerous respected news agencies such as Reuters and Al Jazeera. We look forward to seeing all the delegates and journalists in the committee and revolutionize peacemaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritika, for presenting the overview. I'm sure all the delegates have a clear idea of LCI Month's history. Now, I would like to invite Deborah from AS Level to introduce our esteemed chief guest for this year's LCI MUN. Over to you, Deborah.
Thank you, Bharati. Our chief guest for today is Mr. Jayanth Jacob. Mr. Jacob is a senior journalist and a commentator on politics and foreign policy based out of Delhi. He's a co-founder of the Pixstory app, brought out by a group of academicians and journalists from around the world with the aim of making storytelling more accessible and reclaiming social space. Before this development, Mr. Jacob worked as an associate editor with NDTV and as a senior assistant editor and diplomatic writer with the Hindustan Times. He has also worked with the Indian Express and Telegraph and is a United Nations accredited journalist. He has covered United Nations General Assembly meetings and various global summits, such as the Nuclear Security Summit. Mr. Jacob has covered both Indian politics and elections, as well as reported extensively on political developments in our neighboring countries, appearing as an expert on various channels. He was a part of the Press Advisory Committee of the Rajya Sabha, a fellow at the International Leadership Program by the U.S. Department of State, and a fellow at the Foreign Press Center, Japan, Tokyo. Mr. Jacob was also an All India topper in journalism from the Indian Institute of Mass Communication in the 1999 to 2000 batch, an alumnus of Mario Vanno's College from our very own Trivandrum. He was a two-term elected chairman of Mario Vanno's College and a winner of many debating and speech competitions, such as the Dr. P.C. Alexander Endowment, the National Youth Parliament Competition, the Kerala University Youth Festival, the Nehru Center Trophy, the Topil Ravi Foundation, and many such more. Clearly, we are extremely lucky to have such an accredited and knowledgeable speaker as our chief guest for today. Over to you, Mr. Jacob.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Respected Chairman, sir. Respected Principal, sir. Respected Sanu, sir. Delegates and friends. It's indeed an honor for me to come and speak to you for a few minutes about the United Nations and some of my own experience and how I see the entire things, and declare your event open. So when we have to talk about United Nations, something I would like to say is that whenever a teacher comes to a class, all of your students, so basically the teacher wants the class to be in order. So basically there has to be some sort of a peace for the teacher to begin teaching. So the point is that to begin something meaningful, in this case it's a learning, you need some sort of a peace. The peace has to be not some sort, though I said it in a manner of speech, the peace has to be complete. The peace has to be meaningful. So peace has many connotations. In this context, it can be silence, it can be students not doing anything that is not required by the teacher, etc., etc. But peace is a requirement. Similarly, you talk about the cases of all these religions that we see in the world. For example, invocation to peace is something fundamental to all the religions in the world. We say Om Shanti in Hinduism. Similar kind of chants or similar kind of salutations are there in every religion, be it Islam, be it Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, Shintoism, any religion you take around the world. That is very fundamental. That is peace. Even when we die, people say rest in peace. So not only while we are living, even after we are gone from this world, peace is something which is people wish for each other, one another, because that is so fundamental to our existence. Similarly, when you talk about international situation, international peace is something which is necessary for the countries to live together, progress together, develop together, and to take care of the growth, economic growth, and well-being of their citizens. In this context, you should see United Nations. Peace, even before United Nations was born, or its early avatar, League of Nations, was born, the quest for peace you can see in various international treaties, etc., which I don't want to get into. But after the tumultuous Second World War, we have seen something like United Nations, which is still holding on. So that is a great thing that international organization, which has almost all the countries in the world, are holding on to as one and working for the betterment of the world to the extent possible. In that context, it gives me a great pleasure when students like you get into the nitty-gritties of how United Nations work, what is its relevance, and things like that. That gives you great insight into the working of a world body which has ensured that there was no world war for the last 70 odd years. And also there are many concepts such as human rights, climate change, equity, that transcended many boundaries because of the United Nations, and countries came together to work for this. And also when we think of United Nations, that is the highest form of politics and diplomacy. I like somebody who has covered the United Nations for many years, I can tell you that is not a very simple place. You must have read it in your books and you must have heard from people, etc. That is a place where you see the highest form of action of international politics and international diplomacy. The United Nations, we mostly associate with United Nations General Assembly, which is where every member of the UN sit, and also the Select Five, which is the permanent members which constitute the UN General Assembly, United Nations Security Council. There are also so many other branches. You talk of every conceivable subject in the world, there is one UN branch for it. As you know, there is IAEA for atomic energy, WHO for health, UNESCO for culture, so on and so forth. I don't want to get into all of that. So what I'm trying to say is that every conceivable action or aspect of human life and well-being are taken care of by the United Nations. But we should also understand in international politics and diplomacy, this is something where the power gets into play. So it is not very good to overestimate the way power structures work. So power is something which works in so many different ways. So in international politics also, power works. So how countries throw around their power or use their power to get their own objective done. Their own objective as well as the objective of common good when it comes to a forum like United Nations. So it could be your economic cloud, it could be your cultural cloud, it could be your moral authority, it could be your friends, it could be the way you find common ground with people. That's how it works. At the same time, we must understand the United Nations system, which began in 1945, which is by and large a stagnant process. Since then, the global power politics has changed. Countries like India and China, etc., emerged as much bigger countries, much influential countries. The economies have grown. That is the case with countries like Japan in Asia or Germany in Europe. But some of the systems in the United Nations are still old windows, like the Windows car kind of a thing. But that said, we shouldn't forget the fact that warts and all, whatever negative things are there, this system held the world together to the extent possible from plunging into another war. So before the United Nations came, if you read the history, as most of you are familiar with the history books, so we used to hear about a lot of wars, countries at each other's throat, etc. But since the beginning of United Nations, that has come to lesser number. And also there are many countries which got independence, civil wars came to an end, humanitarian aids, all that happened because of the United Nations. At the same time, understanding United Nations is also helping you to understand how international diplomacy works. So when you go through all these processes in your weekly club actions, or when you get into a debate of this, that gives you an insight into how UN system works. So this is where diplomacy, as they say, is war by other means. And diplomacy, you come from a city called Trivandrum. So incidentally, India's first foreign secretary was also a person from Kerala, KPS Menon. So KPS Menon has written a book called Many World. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that book. That he talks about his experiences in life and how he was a foreign secretary when Pandit Nehru was prime minister and things like that. There he says something about a diplomat. He says, if a diplomat says yes, that means perhaps. If a diplomat says perhaps, that means no. And if a diplomat says no, he is not a diplomat. So fundamentally, diplomacy works like that. At the highest level, like the United Nations, you have certain objectives to achieve for a country. For example, let's take the United Nations discussions on climate change. So the way a developed country like America see climate change is not the way a poor country or a growing developing country like us see climate change, as means India. So we would always like to see the countries who have polluted more should pay more. The countries which haven't polluted as much as the Western countries, take the examples of developing countries, then why should we pay that much? So when the Western countries also ask us to cut emissions beyond a point, they are also not taking into account that even after we cut the kind of threshold they have set in, they will still be polluting more than us. So the point I'm trying to make is that, so this is something when you go for a climate change negotiation at the World Forum, you have to keep in mind. You have a national interest to keep. You have the interest of your people to keep in mind. Then you have to fit everything into a global framework. It's not that since we believe in certain things, every country in the world has to believe accordingly. But in that case, what we do, we find common ground. We find a position that we can align with to the extent possible, or a position which we think gives us maximum mileage or importance or lead to solving of our problems. So that's how the system works. So in short, my point is that when you understand something like a united system, you are understanding the way how world politics work, world diplomacy works, how negotiations work. And also when you are in school like this, you should also be learning a lot of things that prepare you to lives outside or your careers outside once you step out of the school or go to college, and after that as well. So this is a great beginning, and also this is a great training. Like you're studying a system in a school which actually decides the destiny of the world in more ways than one, and which also takes care of the almost all the conceivable problems, issues in the world. It also has some of the best and the brightest people discussing and trying to find a solution to the problem. At the same time, it also has some of the best and the brightest fighting with each other to make things work for their selfish ends. So everything that we visualize out there in the world is also get reflected in the UN system. That is the beauty of United Nations. So I'm very glad that your school has been doing LCMN for so many editions. So this gives you a great opportunity to understand how an intricate system works, and also to learn how negotiation works, how soft skill works, hard skill works. It's also a game, like, as you are aware of this in your like training as part of members of various committees, etc. This is how competition works, this is how negotiations work, this is how hard bargaining goes, this is how soft skill play, things like that. So it's a great opportunity for all of you. So I take this opportunity to commend the organizers of this event. And I am sure that this is not an easy thing to put together, because something of this scale and this complexity, to make it very appealing to students and to have a program like this, it takes a lot of time and effort. So I take this opportunity to commend everybody who has worked behind this program to make it a huge success for so many years. And I also am very thankful and grateful to the school, the principal, the chairman sir, and Sanu sir, and all of you for inviting me to share this dice with you, though it's a virtual medium. I hope to see you real once things are better or things clear up. So I take again this opportunity to thank all of you, and I declare this event open. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That was enlightening. There's no one better suited to address the gathering in today's inauguration. Next, I would like to invite the chairman of Chempaka and Athena Group of Institutions, Mr. V.N.P. Raj. Our chairman needs no introduction. I'm sure that all of us present here will be familiar with his inspiring speeches, especially on our official YouTube channel. I would like to invite you, sir, to share your wise words with us.
Am I audible? Good morning to every member from, and to our chief guest, Jacob. Let me, at the very start, offer my pranamam to Jayanth Jacob for attending and blessing our children with his words of wisdom on the need of United Nations. For me, dear children, these are moments of pride. These are moments while I speak to you. I'm not going to speak for long, but I will try to connect my thoughts to you on a simple question: why we need a MUN club? Why we need, humanity needs a United Nations? We could have been there with the nations. Why a United Nations? Why that? So Jayanth Jacob told about the bloodshed of humanity. I will ask you children a small question. All of us have a knife at home. In the kitchen, you see the mother keeping knife. Why do we need a knife? I know your answer. A knife is required to cut vegetables, tea, fish, I don't know. It's a tool for cooking, right? And cooking is required for our food, our energy, and our life. So is knife a requirement of our life? Of course, without knife, very difficult to keep our foods ready. If somebody used the same knife to kill another human being, is that required? Oh no, we can't use a knife to kill another person, because killing another human being is not a good job. It's not an acceptable job, because we are all human beings. We cannot kill each other. So the same knife has two sides. One, it is a good thing. Another, it's a bad thing. You agree with me? Okay, now look at anything in this world. Anything that man created, not God created, man created. Man created all that he wanted. He created like a glass to see, dress, homes, cars, computers, mobile phones. He created everything, including lights, bulbs, everything, air conditioning. Are they useful to us? They are highly useful. But are they harmful to us? They are less harmful. Therefore, whatever man creates to the world has a helpful. And why this become? Have you ever thought? Harmful to us, it becomes harmful to us when we do two things. One is we are illogical, our minds are divided. As human beings, have you seen one lion killing another lion? Have you seen one tiger killing another tiger? A monkey killing another monkey? No other animal kills its own species. We are the only animal on the planet Earth. We kill our own species. Why we do that? Because unlike other animals, they don't possess anything. They just live and go. Human beings, we all live and go. We want to possess. We want possess. We want to own the land. We want to own the building. We want to own the car. We want to own everything. And we want to own people. And those people we don't like. We kill them. Ownership is the biggest challenge of humanity ever since it has been established, my dear friends. So to what extent do you need this ownership is called, in a short way, a collaborative ownership, where I own, you own. When I have a right to live, you too have a right to live. And everything is collaborated for peaceful coexistence of this one particular animal. United Nations comes there and says that, hello, you can own, but don't be a selfish. Be a creative owner, be a collaborative owner, be a bring peace to life. Collaborative ownership is one of the goals of United Nations. The second biggest goal, my children, is while we create, while we make collaborative ownership, a second major challenge we face in the world is hurting the environment. If I have to breathe, children, if you have to breathe, you need oxygen. Who gives the oxygen to us? The next door plant. And what we give to them? And water is the biggest circulator. It brings pure water, takes the bad water back to the sea. The sea is the mother water that keeps water circulation along with the sun and air. The entire universe is balanced. The environment is balanced. They stand together. We have no right. We have no right to live. We have no right to balance it because that is our parent. Will we hurt our parents? No. Can we hurt our environment? No. But it is our lack of knowledge, lack of awareness. We hurt it and we create a bad world for the future. MUN comes here. It is an opportunity for us to realize the nature, the nature, the environment, as well as the human nature. While you do this, you will get highly connected. As told, you will get the abilities of debating, the abilities of negotiating. These are all high skills. And these skills can take you to better and better challenges. Because we are all born to live with challenges. If there is no challenge, humanity is born of. So let children be blessed for reaching to the Chempaka platform and then further connecting to national platform as the future of humanity is upon you. The peaceful coexistence is upon you. Knowing the human nature and working for the welfare of humanity is upon you. At this point of time, children, I wish I would have been physically with you, able to do with a lot of things, but I wish you all the best, every happiness, and you become the best children, the best citizens to your future world. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words. We appreciate your constant encouragement and support. Now, I invite our esteemed principal, Dr. Swaminathan Krishna, to address our young delegates. Sir, please.
Thank you. Good morning, dear beloved Chairman, Chief Guest, Lekol Chempaka International Model United Nation team, the Director General of LCI MUN, Keshava, the Secretary General, Mukund, and the Cambridge head, and all the team who have been working to make this happen. We have the intra-school program starting from today, and the inter-school one, the most awaited, the most prestigious inter-school one is coming on 22nd and 23rd November, wherein we will have schools from across the city and even from abroad participating. All the best to all of you for this wonderful program. Today it's going to be easier because you are just going to delegate and speak about the programs. And when it is the inter-school one, it is not going to be really easy. You are going to really coordinate the skill, the delegation skill, the coordination skill, the organization skill, all that is going to be tested on 22nd and 23rd, dear children. All the best to all of you. And whatever, I'm just going to speak a couple of words from now from my experience. Past 12 years across various cities in South India and abroad, I have been coordinating Model United Nations with students, and even had the glory of sending children to the Wyman, which is told to be the best in the world. One second, sir. Yeah, I got a call from Sanu sir to enable the video. It was on. I didn't know why it had gone off. Anyway, children, I was just telling you about coordinating with a variety of students across the whole South India and abroad for conducting Model United Nations and even sending children to Wyman in the New York Real United Nations building every year. In the month of January, 800 students selected from various schools across the whole world, being selected there, and simulation is given directly by the United Nations professionals for 2 days, and after that 3 days children present the paper and everybody get the participation certificate. Some of them really get best delegate certificate under all the agendas and committees separately. And you know something, when I had to send some children to such a program in the past, even I had opposition heard from my own parents and teachers. Sir, they are in grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, busy preparing for examination, and this is January. And I said, trust the children. Some of them were not proving to be very good in academics, and even I had very tougher situation to face. But you know what happened? They all happily went there. They had different academic tour again as part of this trip to various universities, listened to eminent people. They were able to present the papers. They got certificate, and when they came back, when they after their 10th, when they have gone to 11th or maybe 12th, next year those shy girls, those soft spoken boys, all become super duper leaders. One boy who used to be very, of course, little shy some, but quite articulated in his speaking, he even became the head of his department in Christ College, Bangalore, when he had to pursue his undergrad over there after the 12th. Why I said this example is, when we ask children participate in such program, debate club, Model United Nations, Gavels clubs, Toastmaster, all this is ultimately proving your creative speaking skill, children. When we finish our 14 years of journey in the school, right from LKG till 12th, we must have been accumulating a variety of skill, starting from literacy skill to numeracy skill, life skill, social skill, physical education. But if a child pass out without creative speaking skill with a small community, then maybe to a larger group, then to the entire world, even discussing about international problems like the two agendas that you have selected today, amazing ones, and how you brainstorm on that, and you just literally liberate yourself from individual to social being and feel that it is not always about I, me, and mine. It is always about we, us, and us. So this global citizenship building is what our aim by promoting such programs in all the international schools for that matter. We have reached the 6th chapter. Jayanth sir was just mentioning this is going to be online, but I would sincerely look forward to see it live in real situation sooner or later. Yes, sir. Now that the schools are reopened in Kerala and also our children have started coming in, soon or later we will have such a program conducted in our school, like inviting the top delegates from the best schools and best students of across the world and making everybody to delegate, deliberate, and our children are going to prove themselves that they are not only good speakers, they coordinate meticulously well, they organize it very well. Children, ultimately when we throw the my feeling and when we feel that we need to respect other delegate when we speak, listening skill, it's not always the speaking skill that is being tested in debate club and in Model United Nations. The listening skill and completely understand and then debate on the topic, and when it is conducted in a larger format, children represented individual countries across the United Nations, say around 194, 95 of them, and not when they respect to listen to others and also take the responsibility for their topic and their country, whatever they are representing, and finally come to a cooperation. That is what United Nations. That means the year when it was born in 1945, the real dearth need for the formation of UN was the post-war atrocities created by the same human being, just like our chairman told to you now. The only species on earth possess material, possess money, and most unreal, almost like illogically feels that I'm going to own this, I'm going to hold this for throughout the life, for many, many, many years, without understanding in such a vast universe with the play of the time and space, which are really confusing us right from the beginning of civilization, even till the end of our civilization. As per the cosmology and astrophysics, we will still be confused about the time and space, and still we feel a little bit of land, little bit of material, little bit of resources completely possessed by us. This gave birth to wars, world wars, and post Second World War we had the United Nations, and today we have Mukund, Keshav, like children acting like a Director General, Secretary General, leading a team to delegate to topics of international importance. Not only you study world history through such events, you also develop the way of delegating and deliberations. You develop the leadership skill, you develop the rebuttal skill, you develop the organizing and creative speaking skill, most importantly. All the best to all of you, dear children, and all the best once again for the meticulous planning that you are going to do after tomorrow for our major event, wherein even our Adina group schools all will be participating for the inter-school event, and prove that even the virus, even the online platform will not retard your organizing skill and creativity and coordinating skill. And today, nothing of that you are going to test. Today, you are going to speak about your creative speaking skill and debate skill. All the best to all of you, and special thanks to Sanu sir for organizing this. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your thoughtful words. Your motivating speeches always uplift all of us. Next, I would like to invite the academic head of the Cambridge section, Mr. Sanu Joseph, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vanati. Chief guest of the day, Jayanth Jacob sir, our chairman, President Raj sir, Secretary, Shashila ma'am, Director, Shija ma'am, Academic Dean, Jin sir, Principal, Dr. Saminathan Krishna, members of the faculty, dedicated class teachers, enthusiastic delegates, and our amazing parents. A warm good morning to one and all. The chief guest of the day, Jain sir, then our chairman, Raj sir, and principal, Saminathan sir, had really briefed on what MUN is. MUN, as you know, is a replica, a simulation of United Nations Conference. As mentioned by the chief guest, the topmost place of debating, decision-making, where we see two sides of the human being. Through research, which you have been doing for the last couple of months, today and tomorrow, through lobbying and diplomacy, through your public speaking skills, you are going to adapt and hone the skills of 21st century. Your seniors, our alumni, will watch how these activities have helped them to mature into strong individuals. It was a very humble beginning. In 2016, the school was able to send a set of 5 students to Delhi to attend the Ivy League, the prestigious Ivy League MUN. There were students, there were delegates from all over the world. It was a three-day event. And that was the humble beginning of LCI-MUN. After training them and sending them, and they came back, we started our first MUN, and today we are inaugurating the 6th chapter. Last year and this year, we were struck by the pandemic, but children, you have proved nothing can hamper, deter the Chempaka spirit. All the students are given one country and they are delegates, and they have been mentored. The MUN debate and declamation clubs and activities mentored by Geeta ma'am and Shaju sir have gone a long way in preparing our students for this learning experience. The student mentors Keshava and Mukund have been there to fine-tune the nitty-gritties of 2021 MUN. Dear delegates and the chairs, Devrat, Deborah, Vanadi, and all other delegates, we wish you all the best of Chempaka luck. I can assure you, children, you will witness a new person, a new individual emerging from you, a person of great confidence, a person of great diplomatic skills, a person who can listen to the views of another after these 2 days of learning experience. All the best to you, children.
Thank you, sir, for your wise words. We would not be here without your support. Now, I would like to welcome Harini from AS Level to give the vote of thanks and introduce the executive board members.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Harini Aparna. Today, I've been given the honor of presenting the vote of thanks. Firstly, I'd like to thank the chairman of Chempaka and Avina Group of Institutions, Mr. VNP Raj. Thank you to the secretary, Mrs. Shashikala Raj, and a warm thanks to our director, Ms. Shija N. Thank you to our principal, Dr. Swaminathan Krishna, for being here to see the collective efforts of all the students of Lekko Chempaka International. Next, I would like to thank the wonderful academic dean, James Thomas. We are delighted to have you with us, sir. Furthermore, we have the brilliant chief guest, Mr. Jayanth Jacob. Thank you, sir, for attending this auspicious occasion and taking time to speak with us today. Furthermore, I'd like to thank our academic head, Mr. Sanu Joseph, without whom this MUN wouldn't be possible. Finally, a special thanks to the teachers, MUN club mentors, Mr. Shaji Sebastian and Ms. Gita, loving parents, and all the delegates present here today. The Model United Nations has become a valued tradition of our school. We are blessed with the opportunity to participate, grow, and learn, which is why we are gathered here today. The 6th chapter of MUN has 2 very interesting agendas, held by corresponding committees. The first committee is the United Nations General Assembly, which has the agenda of the Israel-Palestine conflict. The chair for this committee is Vanati Chonachalam, the vice chair is Deborah Takikara. The other committee is the United Nations Human Rights Council, whose agenda is tackling racial and religious cleansing of ethnic minorities with emphasis on conflicts in Western African states. The committee is headed by the chair, Devrat Rakesh P., and myself as the vice chair. And the final committee is the International Press, which will be headed by Ritika S. Kumar. As I conclude, all the chair members, including myself, graciously welcome you to this year's chapter of LCI MUN. Thank you.